Hey backers, Sean here from Roam Proof. Quick update. I'm seeing that people are leaving comments. We've got 2 so far, people that have received their units 3 days ago and 1 day ago. Sandra and Kevin, thank you for your feedback. It's just kind of first initial feedback, but happy that the feedback is arriving in the way that it is, just about charging. Kevin says he charged from 40 to 100% in about 2.5 hours. That feels about on pace. Packaging is very professional and the unit has some decent weight to it. We really worked harder on our packaging and everything. We're trying to really come into our own finally and be ready for retail is really what we're preparing for. So I appreciate that feedback, Kevin. And then he said he'll run through some initial tests once it's fully charged. It's been fully charged, so I'm curious to hear how your initial tests are going. He said nice solid wall port is included, and as well as a British Euro and Aussie adapters. Let's go. Excited for Kevin's feedback. Kevin has been backing us for a long time. We love Kevin, and we love to see any returning backers, which there are a lot of you. Sandra is another commenter, and she is also a returning backer. She bought a 20K originally and is a super backer. And she just gives us a basic run through of charging, talks about how the port covers are a lot stronger than on the SOS 20K, which is true. That's feedback that we got and changed. The flashlight has more options, which again is true. I like the feel of the power button more as well, which she kind of alluded to. And she talks about how she's going to test it at its maximum temperature threshold, which is great. And we've tested it far beyond that threshold, but I'm glad she's going to test it up to its limits. And when it gets too hot, it eventually shuts off. I'm assuming you won't be able to hit its temperature operating threshold because it has a lot to do with internal temperature as well, but maybe you will. So thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Kevin. Anyone else that's received their unit, which should be a lot of you, please leave us your feedback. It wasn't the first 50 backers, it was the first 50 units. So I think backer 42 was the last person who received a unit. And that's because people in the first 50, you could order more than one. So a lot of people ordered multiples in that first little span. Okay, and if you were an international backer or had an international unit, you were probably excluded from that, which I think there were 1 or 2 of you. All right, 3 points of update, and well, 2 points of update and 1 question. First point of update, shipping dates are still what we announced in the last video, and in that little update, nothing has really changed there. Second is our manufacturing process. In order to control quality and innovation faster, we are doing everything we can to move our entire supply chain to the United States. We actually have not really been impacted by the tariffs, which is great especially for this shipment. It's great. It's super helpful to us that our cost didn't all of a sudden in the middle of this big project skyrocket, because we would have found ourselves massively in debt, taking on a ton of debt for Roam Proof, which is not something we're looking to do. However, we still feel like moving more operations to the US is the right decision. And that's because we can really have I can really have a close finger on the development as well as the production process, and we can innovate more. It will mean our costs will go up, but that's not going to be 4x'd and then passed on to the consumer at retail, which is what most big companies do. And they do that because they have to. They have so many costs. That's not like a lot of people get the impression that's a greed thing. And I had that impression as well. Once I became so closely intertwined with a supply chain of a company that manufactures products that are a little more complex, it became really clear to me that there's so much overhead and so many costs that I never ever would have thought about. And everyone has to make money along the way, right? And it's never just one person that makes all of it. There's so many suppliers that participate in the process, and everybody has to make a little bit of money and pay all their employees and take care of all their overhead. So anyway, the point of that was I'm not going to pass all of the costs on to the customer. We're just going to increase the retail price by our increased cost, not our increased cost plus margin. Now, that's the second point, trying to move everything to the US. So products from here on out, the goal is to make as much of it as we can in the US, besides some specific suppliers like batteries, drivers. That's like one very specific piece that is only made in this country because we get it from this specific person because we love the battery that they make or whatever. The third one, which is a question, is waterproof. Is it necessary? I ask this question because if we eliminate the 100% waterproof feature, the IP67, which is a standard of 1 meter for 30 minutes, if we reduce that to just even just to splash proof, but if we eliminate it completely, we could make huge innovative strides, reducing the size, reducing the weight, changing the materials that we produce in, changing the way that you interact with the ports. If we can eliminate that waterproof feature, we would really make some great steps forward. And I think it's a secondary or even a tertiary selling point. It's more of like a marketing feature, in my opinion. A few of you will probably, and the few of you that would affect will probably be the most vocal about it. But my assumption is that most of you probably don't really need that feature or care about that feature. And for those of you that do, I bet you only really utilize that 2% of the time at the very most, especially with a battery. Battery, there's no reason to ever have it in the water. A speaker, I can see when someone might want to use it in the water, but even then it's like more an accidental. You use it accidentally, this feature. So, is it necessary? Give us your feedback in the comments section of this update. I want to keep these separate from the first 50 feedback if we can. So in the comments section of this update would be great. And let me know, necessary or not. And if enough people think that it's not, if the large majority think that it's not, which is where I stand personally, I love that it is, but the more that I thought about it, I've sometimes very intentionally done it. Like I want to test my SOS 20K, and so I left it out in the rain for like 2 months, but that was just for fun, for my personal tests, you know. It wasn't really a necessary thing. Even if you're using it on a boat, even if you're using it at the beach, chances are you might not get it too wet. You might not get it too wet, you might not get it too sandy, things like that. You use your phone on the beach, you use your laptop on the beach on occasion, you use your laptop on a boat on occasion, and you don't really have this problem. So, give me your feedback. Let me know whether or not you think waterproofing is necessary. And otherwise, pay attention to the feedback that's coming back on the comments board. And I look forward to you all getting your PWR27s very soon. Thanks so much.